Can everyone hear? Carrie, can we get the sound up just a little bit? Better? Better? A little louder? Okay, good. All right, now if my colleagues would just take their seats, I would like to welcome everyone to Faneuil Hall for our weekly Boston City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll to ascertain the presence of a quorum?
Councilor Baker. Councilor Baker. Here. Councilor Campbell. Councilor Siomo. Councilor Asabi George. Councilor Flaherty. Councilor Jackson. Councilor Lamatino.
Here.
Councilor Linehan. Councilor McCarthy.
Here.
Councilor O'Malley.
Present.
Councilor Presley. Thank you. Councilor Wu.
Present.
And Councilor Zachem. Madam President, everyone is present.
Thank you. I'd like to ask all councilors and guests to please rise. And I'd like to invite Councilor Asabi George up to introduce our faith leader for the day.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Madam President. I'm excited to introduce and welcome Rabbi Matthew Sofer. Rabbi Sofer has been a rabbi at Temple Israel of Boston since his ordination from the New York campus of the Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion in 2010. At Temple Israel, he is a leader in social justice and works closely with the Families with Young Children program. He is an active member on the boards of the Jewish Alliance for Social Action, the Massachusetts Board of Rabbis, and the Pluralism Project at Harvard. I also had the pleasure of meeting with Rabbi Sofer it's been maybe a year ago now, and just his presence and his comfort and his conversation have brought, I know, great sort of relief and pleasure to me, but also prayerfulness and thoughtfulness. And I was very excited that Rabbi Sofer was able to come today and to speak before us, and thank you so much. Please welcome Rabbi Sofer.
I want to thank Councilor George for the opportunity to be here as we share in words of purpose and hope. In 1 week from today, the Jewish community worldwide will gather to bring in Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. The very first thing that we always do to mark holy occasions is we light candles. We do this to remind us of our human ability to elevate our lives and to draw ourselves closer to what we hold as sacred. But this year we need more than candles, and we all know why. This year we need a torch. I thought it'd be timely for us to begin with these words, a poem written by a great American poet who died at the very young age of 38. These words were written in 1883, and only briefly did they catch the public eye, but 20 years later they were attached to a statue, forever calling us to a shared sacred purpose. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. These words of Emma Lazarus are as urgent now as they have ever been. And as contemporary kindlers of this enduring lamp, let us unite our hearts for this prayer. O God, God of our ancestors, source of light and wisdom and compassion, as these leaders assemble to pursue the difficult work of governance in this difficult time, we ask for your blessing upon them and upon all who pursue a society of worldwide welcome. As we still hear the cries of those yearning to be breathed free, the yearning for the freedom from poverty, the freedom from inequality, the freedom from bigotry, the freedom from racial and ethnic supremacy, freedom from the lies of corrupt leaders whom we pray may yet find their pathways to moral rehabilitation. May you bless these righteous leaders of our great city with the courage and the will to seek and find workable solutions to the crises we face, with the compassion and the love to pursue what is good and what is right, and with the struggle, with the strength, with the hope to lift up the lamp, however weighty, and let it shine throughout all corners of our precious world. As we say together, Amen.
Please join Councilor Sabi George in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Councilor Sabi George. We'll start with approval of the minutes from last meeting. Are there any changes or amendments? Seeing and hearing none, the minutes stand approved. And on to petitions, memorials, and remonstrances.
Docket number 1192, petition of SB Partners LLC for a license to operate motor vehicles for the carriage of passengers for hire over certain streets in Boston.
Docket number 1192 will be assigned to the Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Transportation.
Docket number 1193, petition of Hiron Boston LLC for a license to operate motor vehicles for the carriage of passengers for hire over certain streets in Boston.
Docket 1193 will be assigned to the Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Transportation. Reports of public officers and others. Madam Clerk, if you could read all three of these dockets together.
Thank you, Madam President. Docket number 1194, notice is received from the Mayor of the appointment of Richard D. Piano as temporary First Assistant Collector Treasurer for a period of 60 days effective September 6, 2017. Docket number 1195, notice is received from the Mayor of the appointment of Anthony Dello Iacono as temporary Second Assistant Collector Treasurer for a period of 60 days effective September 6, 2017. Docket number 1196, communication was received from Martin R. Healy, attorney at Goodwin Law, regarding the notice of financing to the report and decision on the application for approval of the Boston Garden Development Corporation and Boston Properties Limited Partnership.
Dockets number 1194, 1195, and 1196 will be placed on file. Reports of committees.
Docket number 0177, the Committee on Government Operations, to which was referred in January 25, 2017. Docket number 0177, message and order approving a home rule petition to the regular general court entitled An Act Relative to Boards and Commissions of the City of Boston. Submits a report recommending the home rule petition ought to pass in a new draft.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on Government Operations, Councilor Flaherty.
Message and order was sponsored by Mayor Martin Walsh and referred to the Committee on Government Operations back on January the 25th of 2017. This home rule petition proposes to allow the mayor to appoint new members to certain boards and commissions if the relevant nominating entity does not provide nominations within 90 days of being notified by the administration of the vacancy. The legislation also adds a residency requirement for boards and commissions that do not already include one. The committee held a hearing on July the 10th of 2017, which was followed up by a working session on August the 29th. At the hearing, we heard from Deputy Chief for Policy, Danny Green, who testified that the purpose of the legislation was for smoother operations when vacancies occur, formalizing the process and the timeline of nominations and appointments, and address ongoing holdover situations where some of the boards and commissions have people that have been sitting on a board for over 10 years in holdover status, and in some instances there were no nominations given at all, the longest being dating back to 2004. We also had Sam Tyler in attendance, as well as members of the City Council. The committee also discussed the vacancy process, wondering how vacancies were tracked and processed, as well as reporting requirements for boards and commissions. Further, the committee inquired about the proposal and whether it would affect council confirmation powers and residency requirements, as well as the possibility to amend language to require legislation to require all boards and commissions to require confirmation and residency. Representatives from the boards and commissions to be affected by docket 0177 were contacted on September the 1st, 2017, and were encouraged to contact the committee with any questions or comments with respect to the new policy. The committee proposed draft in front of you has adopted the administration's changes submitted from the July 10th hearing, which struck the Boston School Committee nominating panel from the home rule petition. The new draft also adds a council confirmation requirement for appointees to the boards and commissions that do not already have it. So in sum, after passage of docket 0177, the aforementioned boards and commissions would all be subject to mayoral appointment should the nominations not be received within 90 days of notification, residency requirement for all appointees, and council confirmation for all appointees. As chair of the Committee on Government Operations, I'm asking that this matter pass on a new draft. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. At this time, Councillor Flaherty moves for acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket 0177 in a new draft. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and docket 0177 has been passed in a new draft. Matters recently heard for possible action.
Docket number 0820, order for hearing to discuss a policy reform and public education project with the National Black Women's Justice Institute, known as NBWJI, and the Boston City Council.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Committee on Healthy Women, Families, and Communities, Councillor Presley.
Thank you, Madam President. Last night's hearing was an extension of an initiative I started this summer in partnership with Dr. Monique Morris, founder of the National Black Women's Justice Institute. That project that we partnered on this summer was called Project Focus Girls of Color, Project Focus GOC, which aims to empower girls of color as policy stakeholders and school culture reformers. The impetus for this was the situation that was widely reported with the Cook sisters at a charter school in the region who were disciplined for wearing their hair in flat twists, a similar hairstyle to my own. In Massachusetts, we see that girls of color, the entire range, Somali, Ethiopian, Muslim, Haitian, Dominican, Puerto Rican, that they are suspended 11 times the rate of their white peers. So we know that the school-to-prison pipeline is not only a situation that is growing and resulting in mass incarceration for our at and proven risk black and brown boys, but that those numbers are growing for girls as we see more and more of them justice involved. When I ran for office 8 years ago, I ran to fight for women and girls. Now, I never pledged to only fight for them, but I wanted to make it clear that girls were in need of advocacy, and we as a city were in need of more gender-sensitive and responsive programming across the board. We know that school discipline policies as well as school climate contribute considerably to the growing pipeline I referenced earlier. For a myriad of reasons, school policies that appear well-intentioned and neutral on their face are having a disparate impact on girls of color. In July, as I mentioned, we helped National Black Women's Justice Institute conduct focus groups with more than 100 girls of color, and they were all stipended for their participation, as well as focus group for their parents, and one with school personnel from BPS and Boston area charter and Catholic schools. On Monday night, we held a powerful hearing. I thank my colleagues for their participation, where we only took testimony from girls of color and their parents about their experiences in school. We heard from African American girls, from Haitian girls, from Latina girls, from Muslim girls about how discipline policies, dress codes, and school climate impact not only their academics, but their socio-emotional well-being. We also heard from the National Black Women Justice Institute, who presented alarming data about racial and ethnic disparities in discipline and other policies, as well as what the girls shared in the focus groups we conducted this summer. In October, we'll be inviting school personnel from BPS and Boston area charter and Catholic schools to share what they are working on and how they plan to empower girls of color in the design and evaluation of their school policies. I ask that this matter remain in committee so that we can convene that hearing in October. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Presley. Docket number 0820 will remain in the Committee on Healthy Women, Families, and Communities. And Madam Clerk, if you could please read the rest of these dockets in the section together.
Thank you, Madam President. Docket number 0465, message and order for the confirmation of the appointment of Marie St. Fleur as a member of the Board of Appeal for a term expiring July 1st, 2018. Docket number 0466, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Anthony Pisani as a member of the Board of Appeal for a term expiring July 1st, 2018. Docket number 0467, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Bruce Bickerstaff as a member of the Board of Appeal for a term expiring July 1st, 2018. Docket number 0468, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Eugene Kelly as a member of the Board of Appeal for a term expiring July 1st, 2018. Docket number 0469, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Kerry Walsh Logue as a member of the Board of Appeal for a term expiring November 1st, 2019. Docket number 0470, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Tyrone Kendall, Jr. as a member of the Board of Appeal for a term expiring October 1st, 2019. Docket number 0471, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Mark Fortune as a member of the Board of Appeal for a term expiring June 1st, 2018. Docket number 0472, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Mark Ehrlich as a member of the Board of Appeal for a term expiring September 1st, 2019. Docket number 1007, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of David Marr as a member of the Zoning Commission for a term ending on May 1st, 2020. Docket number 1008, message and order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Jill Hatton as a member of the Zoning Commission for a term expiring on May 1st, 2020. Docket number 1009, message and order for the confirmation and reappointment of Elliot Girosis, a member of the Zoning Commission, for a term ending on May 1st, 2020.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On dockets 0465 through 0472 and 1107 through 1009, Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee on Planning and Development, Councillor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. Yesterday, September 12th, we met at 1:30 to talk with the members, existing members of the ZBA, as well as new appointing members that the mayor has offered us for confirmation. Jeffrey Hampton, who's the Deputy Director of Zoning and Planning of the Planning and Development Agency, attended and explained the value of these commissions and boards. And what happened is that we reviewed the resumes, the credentials, the appointees. Every single person who was either to be appointed or reappointed was there, took questions and answers. I want to thank members of the committee, Councillor Flaherty and Councillor Zakim, who were there, also Councillor Asabi George, who was present. They answered all the questions, and we are asking that all of these members be confirmed for appointment and reappointment.
Thank you, Councillor Linehan.
That's about the ZBA.
Oh, sorry. Please continue.
And then we had a second meeting which followed at 2 o'clock that reappointments to the Zoning Commission. And just ditto to what I said before, all members were in attendance, and as well as the new person who's being appointed. We asked appropriate questions and are recommending confirmation of all of these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Would anyone else like to speak on any of these together? We'll take the votes one by one, if not. Okay, at this time, Councilor Linehan moves for confirmation of all of these individuals. Again, we'll vote one by one, starting with docket 0465 for the confirmation of Marie St. Fleur to the Board of Appeal. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and Marie St. Fleur has been confirmed. On docket 0466, Anthony Pisani. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, Anthony Pisani is confirmed. For docket 0467, Bruce Bickerstaff. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and Bruce Bickerstaff is confirmed. Docket 0468, Eugene Kelly. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and Eugene Kelly is confirmed. Docket 0469, Carrie Walsh Logue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, Carrie Walsh Logue is confirmed. Docket 0470, Tyrone Kindell Jr. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and Tyrone Kindell Jr. has been confirmed. Docket 0471, Mark Fortune. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, Mark Fortune has been confirmed. Docket 0472, Mark Ehrlich. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and Mark Ehrlich has been confirmed. Docket 1007, David Marr. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, David Marr has been confirmed. Docket 1008, Jill Hatton. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, Jill Hatton has been confirmed. And finally, docket 1009, Elliot Guerreroas. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and Elliot Guerreroas has been confirmed. Motions, orders, and resolutions.
Docket number 1197, Councilor O'Malley offered the following order for hearing regarding the city's responsiveness to extreme weather events.
Councilor O'Malley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. A little more than a month or so ago, I stood in this august hall with all of you, introducing a different type of hearing order, and remarked that in the last 7 years we've had 14 once-in-a-100-year weather events on planet Earth. Astounding. Since that time, the number has increased to 16. In fact, we've had 2 Category 4 hurricanes come into the United States in a 10-day period. We have never had 2 Category 4 hurricanes in the United States in the same year. We had 2 in essentially a week and a half. The time to act is now, and we'll get into a little bit more specifics, but suffice it to say, today I'm introducing a hearing order to evaluate the city's responsiveness to extreme weather events in the city of Boston. This order will address the current local emergency evacuation plan and physical infrastructure in the case of a natural weather catastrophe in our city. It will identify a potential reduction in funding assistance that may be curtailed in the national budget. It will ensure the protection and safety of the residents of the city of Boston from impacts of global climate change. We are witnessing the devastating effects of man-made climate change. I am happy to debate this issue with anyone, anywhere, anytime. But I think most people would certainly agree that man-made climate change does have a direct effect on this increase in major weather events. We've been very, very lucky, despite the fact that we are incredibly susceptible to the impact of climate change. It's an imperative that as a city with rising sea levels, we are prepared for extreme weather. According to Climate Ready Boston, over the entire 20th century, sea levels rose more than 9 inches relative to land. However, by 2030, another 8 inches will rise. So we're talking about 100 years going 9 inches and then 30 years going 8. By 2050, sea levels may rise as much as 1.5 feet higher than in 2000. And by 2070, when I hope many of us will be here still, they may be as much as 3 feet higher than they were just 17 years ago. We must take a comprehensive approach to protecting Boston residents from being detrimentally affected by these events, such as Hurricanes Irma, Harvey, Sandy, and Katrina. And we need to also obviously implement a number of environmental initiatives that we've been talking about on this body for many, many months. There is a lack of leadership and outright hostility in Washington hindering efforts to affect climate change. In fact, this current federal administration, the Trump administration, has cut a total of $667 million from FEMA's budget. It's unconscionable what is happening down there, and now more than ever, it is up to cities and towns to lead. I feel like I'm a broken record saying that, but it becomes more and more true, unfortunately, with every week that passes. The purpose of this hearing is not to have an indictment on this mayoral administration or the prior mayoral administration. We've got good people, we've got great people doing great things, but I think there would be an enormous value for this body really taking the lead and perhaps hosting a biannual or even an annual meeting where we just check in with the relevant departments. What are our plans? We've seen those blue evacuation routes. They were up probably 15 or so years ago. I'm not quite sure where they go. One sends me to Dedham, one sends me to Brookline. You know, we need to talk about what our plan is. We also need to have better investment going forward. We have an incredibly dedicated team of first responders, I would argue the best in the world in this city. We need to make sure that they have the resources they need. We have to make sure that we're all on the same page going forward. So again, I'm not looking to politicize what we're doing in Boston as it relates to preparedness. However, I do think that this body ought to lead on this, just make sure that we have check-ins periodically to make sure that we are prepared, because unfortunately, until this country gets its act together relative to climate change, we're going to see more and more Irmas and Harveys and Katrinas and Sandys, etc. So look forward to having an expedited hearing and really just a continuing conversation going forward. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor O'Malley. Madam Clerk, could you please add Councillor Zachem? Please add Councillor Presley, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor Linehan, Councillor LaMattina. Please add Councillor Jackson, Councillor Flaherty, Councillor Sabi George, Councillor Siomo, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Baker. Please add the chair. And Councillor Jackson, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I want to applaud Councillor O'Malley's consistent effort on ensuring that our city is here and in good working condition in the future, and his advocacy for the environment. I would also add what we also know that each one of these disasters, there's data that says it actually inches up poverty by 1% nationally by each one of these disasters. And disproportionately, those who are poor are hurt. One of the things that I would ask Councilor O'Malley to look at that we are not effectively looking at in the city of Boston, we just approved folks to be on the zoning board. We know if there's 36 inches of water that is going to be close to the seaport area, when you stand at the convention center, you are way higher than you are when you are in the seaport district. We know that that area is going to be flooded if we do nothing. We also know in the state of California, you can't build a building that is not resistant to earthquakes. And so in the city of Boston, we need to reevaluate our zoning code. And I know we have a huge boom that's occurring right now, but if we know the water is coming, why is it that we are doing nothing to upgrade the zoning code to ensure that the buildings have the infrastructure needed to to ensure that they will be there in perpetuity? The other component is we know that this is part of our tax base. And so to have a stable tax base, we want to make sure that those buildings are protected. So I would encourage in this hearing that we also look at how we are able to update and upgrade our zoning code so it is relevant for 2017 and into the future. And so, yes, we need preparedness, but our body really needs to look at the rules and regulations that actually will guide us into the future so we are prepared. Please add my name, and again, kudos for your steadfast effort in this space.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Docket number 1197 will be assigned in the Committee on Environment and Sustainability.
Docket number 1198, Councilors Presley and Campbell offer the following resolution urging the legislature to pass House Bill 742, an act amending victims' compensation statute.
Councillor Presley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Last Saturday, we held our first annual Jump into Peace Double Dutch event at Malcolm X Park in Roxbury to honor girls and women lost to violence, to celebrate some girls' organizations doing incredible work promoting health and wellness, sisterhood, building bonds of community. It was a glorious day. I want to say thank you to Councilor Jackson, Councilor Campbell with able representation, Councilor Asabi George, Councilor Wu, although no one jumped this year, but we thank you all for being there. And you know, when I originally conceptualized this event, it was to address all the things that I just said, but the chief thing that we were aiming to accomplish was to go to spaces that had been besieged by violence and to transform them into spaces of healing and to inform joy, and we did do that. 200 plus people came through that fourth annual event. Sadly, despite our best efforts to hold that space as a space that was safe and filled with joy and building peace and community, the next day it was met by great violence once again. We saw some 15 shootings, I think within a 36-hour, 2-day period, and that space was not exempt from that. Oh, I also wanted to just thank the mayor. He didn't jump either, but I want to thank the mayor for being there as well. He's always supported the event. And I want to thank the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute and Tina Cherry for their participation and their powerful healing and for always putting peace first and fighting for dignity for everyone. The Louis D. Brown Peace Institute had reached out to our office specifically about a state bill, and I'm honored to be a part of their efforts to interrupt cycles of violence and again to support surviving family members who lost loved ones to violence to getting on a pathway to healing and recovery. For those who don't know, the Victim Compensation Fund comes primarily from restitution, revoked bail, and other fees and fines paid by people convicted of crimes. Surviving family members are then able to apply for funds to reimburse their loved ones' final expenses. However, because of a clause in the statute, surviving family can be denied if the victim contributed to their own death. Now, every loss of life causes a ripple of trauma in our community, and the inability to bury a loved one can re-traumatize families and punishes a family for their loved one's murder. Ensuring that every family can say a proper final goodbye to their loved one helps begin the process of healing and in turn interrupts and breaks cycles of violence. I am very pleased to be partnering with my good friend and co-sponsor of this resolution who has made great contributions to this body in her role as chair of the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice. Again, this is House Bill 742, an act amending victim compensation. This statute is sponsored by State Rep. Evandro Carvalho. And so I ask all of you to sign on to this resolution, and after my colleagues have spoken, I would like to move to suspend the rules and to adopt the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Presley. Councilor Campbell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councilor Presley, for your partnership on this. Just as Councilor Presley said, this is a resolution in support of House Bill 742, an act amending the victim compensation statute. And it's timely, given the amount of violence we've seen in the city recently, but also, most importantly, given the fact that the city of Boston has stepped up in a major way in this space. We advocated that $50,000 be set aside in the budget for this very purpose. The mayor got on board and we were able to actually get that done. The fact that the city is stepping up but the state has not, in a lot of ways, says something. So this is an opportunity for us to sign on to this resolution, to only support this particular bill, but to really say to the state, we can't keep making up for the funding that keeps getting cut from the state. This is a need that is prevalent and needed across the entire city of Boston. It doesn't just apply to Dorchester, Mattapan, Roxbury. We often see incidents of violence. Every family who suffers from a homicide or an act of violence deserves to have resources, support when burying their loved one. The fact that we actually have exceptions says something about the moral compass, I think, of people in the past, not necessarily current folks in the legislature, but this is a time for us to stand up together and to make our voices heard. Lastly, I'll say the Peace Institute has been for decades pushing for this change. I applaud Representative Carvalho for his work, but the Peace Institute really deserves a lot of credit for the mobilization that they have created over the years, not only for obviously what they do in terms of the Peace Walk, but what they do in the city, what they do at the state level and the federal level and across the country to really get folks to pay attention to the trauma that folks in community and families suffer every single day when they lose a loved one to violence. So, Councilor Presley, thank you and your team. I want to thank my staff for their hard work. I obviously haven't been here with a baby, but their hard work in this regard as well, and I urge all my colleagues to sign on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Madam Clerk, could you please add Councillor Zacum's name? And Councillor Zacum, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. I want to thank the co-sponsors of this important resolution and just say, you know, I've had the pleasure of working and knowing Tina Cherry and the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute for quite a long time, and they have been a tireless voice on not just reducing violence in the city of Boston, but making sure that sort of the silent victims or the other victims, the family members, the friends of those who have been harmed or killed in the city are looked after and taken care of. And this legislation is long overdue. To punish someone because of the possible actions of their now deceased relative or child or friend is, in my mind, unconscionable. And it's something that really flies in the face of a lot of the values we hold dear, not just here in the city of Boston, but in the United States of America, effectively punishing someone, effectively fining someone for the possible actions of a deceased relative is unacceptable. I'm glad that Representative Carvalho has brought this forward. I certainly hope the legislature will act favorably and the governor will sign it, but at the very least, it's important that this body continues to add our voice on this issue. So thank you again, Councilors Campbell and Presley, for bringing this forward. I'm proud to add my name.
Thank you, Councillor Zacum. Madam Clerk, could you please add Councillor Sabi George, add Councillor Siomo, Councillor Baker, Councillor Jackson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and I want to thank Councillor Presley and Councillor Campbell for their work on this. This is important. And I don't believe we have the opportunity posthumously to judge an individual, their actions, or whether or not we should essentially burden their family. And we, in my office, have dealt with many families who just simply couldn't pay to bury their loved ones. And it is heartbreaking to see. And I think it's so important that we step forward. And I think this is about community. We lose a little bit of our community and our city with the loss and death of each person who passes away. Last Tuesday, I was at the home of actually an individual who turned out to be a distant relative in the Cape Verdean community on Payson Street. The individual who was shot at 10:45 in the morning getting his hair cut. The next day, in front of his grandmother's house, while people were grieving, a shooter came up and shot someone in front of everybody. We have a crisis in our city, and I don't think we should compound that crisis with having hurt people be hurt more by dealing with the financial burden of burying a loved one. It is so critical, and this is where government's important. We have people attacking government all over the country. This is what government is actually supposed to do, to step in when folks are hurting and when they need help. And this is a path to dealing with the trauma of losing your loved one. So I'm proud to add my support, but this should have been done a long time ago. And by the way, my last piece would be, who are we to judge? Thank you, Madam President. Please add my name.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Madam Clerk, please add Councillor Jackson's name. Please add Councillor LaMattina, Councillor Linehan, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor O'Malley. Please add the chair's name. Please add Councillor Flaherty. At this time, Councillors Presley and Campbell move for suspension of the rules and adoption of docket 1198. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and docket 1198 has been adopted.
Docket number 1199. Councilor Wu offered the following resolution supporting House Bill 2358, Chinese American World War II Veterans Gold Medal Act.
Chair recognizes Councilor Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Today I rise to ask this body to join in a nationwide effort to recognize Chinese American veterans of World War II. There is a bill before in Congress sponsored by Representatives Ed Joyce and Ted Lieu on the House side and Senator Tammy Duckworth on the Senate side. These bills, there have been many kind of group designations of the Congressional Gold Medal before, and we really want, in time for the 2018, the 75th anniversary of the repeal of the Chinese Exclusion Act, to make sure that our surviving veterans of World War II receive the same honor for their service. Just a few statistics that kind of demonstrate how significant it was that they took up service for this country at that time, when they were still facing blatant racial discrimination with the Chinese Exclusion Act. There were fewer than 120,000 Chinese Americans living in the United States, including all of the territories. Again, the number restricted because of that discriminatory legislation. Out of that 120,000, 20,000 actually stepped up and served in World War II. Out of those 20,000, 40% were not citizens. They were prevented from becoming citizens until legislation during the war. Out of these, their service was spread across the Air Force and other branches. Again, we are grateful every day for the service of all of our veterans, our men and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice and who have given so much to defend our liberty. This is time for us to add another group to receive this recognition for what they did, which was very difficult back then, and part of our continued strive to be a more just and equal country. So I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and adopt this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wu. Would anybody like to sign on or speak on would you please add Councilor Campbell, Councilor Siomo, Councilor George, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Jackson, Councilor Lamontina, Councilor Linehan, Councilor McCarthy, Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Zakerman, and Councilor Presley, you would like to speak on this? And add Councilor Presley's name. Chair recognizes Councilor Presley.
Yes, I just simply rise just to commend the maker and just to thank you for the history lesson and for the opportunity for us to be on the right side of history and righting the wrongs of history. We thank them for their bravery, for their heroism, for their sacrifice, for their many contributions. We know freedom isn't free, and we can do what we do and represent in this way because of their contributions. And in the same way, there have been efforts made to make whole African American veterans and Puerto Rican veterans. We must do the same for Chinese veterans. So thank you very much for bringing this forward, and I wish to have my name added.
Thank you, Councilor Presley, and please add Councilor Presley and also add the chair. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
It's assigned.
Oh,
suspended.
no. At this point, we'd like to, Councilor Jackson would like to.
So much. I just wanted to give kudos to Council President Wu. I'm a history major. I did not know that a sixth of the Chinese population served in the war. A very, very bloody and very important war in our country's history. And it is critical that we admit our wrongs and that in our time that we step forward to give honor to the men and women who step forward so we can sit here. Because none of us sit here without the honorable service of these Chinese soldiers, but also folks who weren't even citizens, who fought for our country, who died for our country, and who stood up for us. I want to thank you so much for bringing this forward. It is so critical that we acknowledge what we've done and we fix it. Please add my name is already added. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Jackson. Councilor Wu would like to suspend the rules and adopt. So at this time, we'll take a vote on docket 1199. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Nay. Docket number 1199 will be adopted. Thank you.
Docket number 1200, Councilor Wu offered the following ordinance regarding the rights to charge.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes Councilor Wu.
Thank you again, Mr. Vice President. In 2013, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts committed to having 300,000 zero-emission vehicles on the road by 2025. As of October of last year, we only have 5,000. And I'm a little conflicted standing up here advocating for cars, because you all know I have my bicycle and my parking spot down in the garage, and constantly trying to wage this battle of we need more public transportation, we need other modes of transportation. But following Councilor O'Malley's important hearing order today, we need to do every single thing that the city could possibly do to get us to the point where we're adapted and ready for these extreme weather events, but even more that we're doing our part to lessen the chance that they'll happen. There's still time. We need to take advantage of that. So again, across the country, we're seeing the devastating impacts of these superstorms, of climate change. The western part of the United States is being ravaged by wildfires because of how dry it's been, because of the temperatures. About 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions that are contributing to climate change across the United States are from the transportation sector. 60% of those are from passenger vehicles, our cars, our fuel cars. And electric vehicles are one way that we can reduce those emissions significantly. Electric vehicles produce less than half of the greenhouse gas emissions that traditional fuel cars do. And that's across the average of all states, including many solar-powered states and coal-powered ones. The cleaner we make our utility grid, the greener that our electric vehicles will be as well. So that's why our community choice energy push is important. And again, this is a technology that's changing quickly. The electric vehicle market has been thought of as a very sort of luxury item, and they're very, very expensive. But as scientists and businesses are working furiously, we're seeing the prices come down. And according to a recent projection, the electric vehicles are likely to become cost competitive in the next couple of years. However, as we're encouraging residents who are thinking about getting rid of their fuel-powered car and moving to an electric vehicle, we need to think about how they're going to charge that vehicle across the city. And we can't be encouraging people to buy these cars without giving them a way to drive them across the city when there's nowhere to charge. We're sort of stuck in this chicken and egg cycle where the city is also hesitant just to start installing charging stations everywhere unless we see the demand for it. So one step that we can do as a council is to make sure that residents who want to charge at their homes have the right to do so. Boston has a lot of condos. Many multifamily homes converted to two condo, three condo buildings, and those condo association documents can often be very strict, that you need the sign off of every single unit to make any single change in the property. And while we don't want to take away a property owner's right to affect what's happening, we want to make sure that they can have a reasonable say, but not prevent someone else who lives there from paying for, maintaining, installing, and having that charging station for an electric vehicle. So this ordinance is something that several other states have done. We'll get into a lot of the details in the legislative process. I know there will be lots of conversations, but essentially what we're trying to do is codify the right for anyone who wants to install a charging station for an electric vehicle at their home to do so, despite any condos and other sign-offs, and then do our part in trying to make the infrastructure piece easier. Finally, again, we are all fully committed to Vision Zero and safe streets and making other modes of transportation more attractive, more affordable, more possible. This is just, again, another step that we need to take as soon as possible to fight climate change. So thank you, everyone. Hope you'll be part of this entire process of discussing and passing the ordinance.
Thank you, Council. Madam Clerk, will you please sign on Councilor Campbell, Councilor Siomo, Councilor George, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Jackson, Councilor LaMantina, Councilor Linehan, Councilor McCarthy, Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Presley, and Councilor Zachem, and please add the chair also.
Thank you.
This item 1200 will be placed in government operations. Thank you.
Docket number 1201, Councilor Jackson offered the following resolution opposing the federal government's decision to end the Deferred Act for Childhood Arrivals, known as DACA program.
Councilor Jackson, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. It seems as if almost every meeting we are defending our city, our state against what is going on in Washington, D.C. And this is an attack a brutal attack on young people, and young people who followed the rules, who stepped forward and did what they were asked to do, identified themselves in the DACA program. This program is based on the Boston Foundation numbers, affects 7,934 young people who live in Massachusetts, and about 6,300 of them live in Boston. It is critical that we send a message that we are standing up for the young people in the Boston public schools, where there's over 139 countries and nearly 1 in 2 students speak a language other than English. This needs to be looked at as our strength and not a weakness. And as the city of Boston, the home of democracy, and in the space that we actually sit in today, it is important that we declare to the Trump administration that we believe that DACA should stay, and that the young people who are covered by this program should be defended, that we have their back, and that the city of Boston emphatically believes that the extension of this program is the right thing to do. Madam President, I would ask that we suspend and adopt today. It is a critical time, and we must lead and not follow in this space. We must be an indicator to the world about who and what we are in our city. And I look forward to suspension and adoption. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor LaMattina, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to commend the maker and ask that my name be added. But I think all of us need to rise, because this is really, really important, particularly for these young kids who came to our country at an early age, had no idea. They only know the United States. My district, particularly in my district, where I know a lot of these kids. And it's really sad that they have to live in fear of being deported. Last week, on Tuesday, after the announcement, I posted on Facebook that this was a sad day for the United States. And I have to be honest with you, I was really disappointed in a lot of people in my district that wrote some negative comments. People forget. You know, my grandparents came here in the early 1900s as Italian immigrants. They didn't have it easy in this country. They came to Boston, but there was no work for them. They had a hard time getting a job. My grandfather and my grandmother had to move to Reading, Pennsylvania, and worked in the coal mines, because no one worked in the coal mines was the most dangerous jobs in those days. But I know these kids. They worked in my office. These are good kids. I can't even imagine them getting deported to go back to El Salvador or whatever their family escaped. If they came here undocumented, good for their families to try to make a better life for them. And so I think it's very important as the city councilors representing the city of Boston that we stick up for them. And I commend the mayor for his comments lately in regards to this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor LaMattina. Madam Clerk, could you please add Councillor LaMattina's name? Please add Councillor Linehan, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor O'Malley, Councillor Presley, Councillor Zachem. Please add Councillor Flaherty, Councillor Sabi George, Councillor Siomo, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Baker. Please add the chair's name. And Councillor Sabi George, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the sponsor of this, Councillor Jackson. I would like to have my name added, which it's been, and just really speak to, I think, an add-on to what Councillor LaMattina mentioned. As a teacher in East Boston, and as a teacher, we often want to teach our kids the content, the academic knowledge that they need, but we also want to give kids the opportunity to dream. And when I've had students before me that had unknown immigration status, oftentimes, especially at the high school level, kids didn't realize or come to learn their immigration status until they were applying for college. And what a devastating moment it is for so many of those kids to discover it and to have it revealed to them by oftentimes a guidance counselor or a college admissions officer. So when DACA came about and we gave kids an opportunity to be safe, how much easier it is for children to learn and to succeed in their academics, and to dream. And that's why we call this the dreamers. We call them dreamers because we really have given them an opportunity to dream and to dream about the American dream that so many of us have been able to experience. So I support this, and I look forward to the suspension and passage of this today, which it seems it will happen. And I thank Councillor Jackson for bringing this before us.
Thank you, Councillor Sabi George. At this time, Councillor Jackson moves for suspension of the rules and adoption of docket 1201. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll on docket 1201?
Councillor Baker? Yes. Councillor Baker, yes. Councillor Campbell? Councillor Campbell, yes. Councillor Siomo? Councillor Siomo, yes. Councillor Sabi George? Yes. Councillor Sabi George, yes. Councillor Flaherty? Councillor Flaherty, yes. Councillor Jackson? Yes. Councillor Jackson, yes. Councillor LaMattina?
Yes.
Councillor LaMattina, yes. Councillor Linehan?
Yes.
Councillor Linehan, yes. Councillor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councillor McCarthy, yes. Councillor O'Malley?
Yes.
Councillor O'Malley, yes. Councillor Presley? Councillor Presley, yes. Councillor Wu?
Yes.
Councillor Wu, yes. And Councillor Zachem? Councillor Zachem, yes. Madam President, docket number 1201 received a unanimous vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Docket 1201 has been adopted unanimously. Personnel orders.
Docket number 1202, Councillor Wu.
Chair moves for suspension and passage of docket 1202. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Docket 1202 has been passed.
Docket number 1203, Councillor Wu for Councillor O'Malley.
Councillor O'Malley moves for suspension and passage of docket 1203. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Docket 1203 has been passed.
Docket number 1204, Councillor Wu for Councillor LaMattina.
Councillor LaMattina moves for suspension and passage of docket 1204. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Docket 1204 has been passed.
Docket number 1205, Councillor Wu for Councillor Sabi George.
Councillor Sabi George moves for suspension and passage of docket 1205. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Docket 1205 has been passed.
Docket number 1206, Councillor Wu for Councillor Sabi George.
Councillor Sabi George moves for suspension and passage of docket 1206. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Docket 1206 has been passed.
Docket number 1207, Councillor Wu for Councillor Campbell.
And Councillor Campbell moves for suspension and passage of docket 1207. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Docket 1207 has been passed. There is one late filed matter in the hands of the clerk, which in the absence of objection will be added to the agenda. Hearing no objection, the matter is added. Madam Clerk, could you please read that addition?
To the City Council, dear councilors, I hereby transmit for your approval an order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $70,000 in a form of a grant, Forbes CEO Luncheon, awarded by various donors to be administered by the Office of Immigrant Advancement. The grant will fund a gathering of CEOs and industry experts to recognize immigrant advancement, address current issues, and turn immigrant challenges into new opportunities. Proceeds will support program services. I urge your honorable body to adopt the order of the City of Boston and may accept the funds expeditiously and expend them upon award for the purposes for which they were granted. Sincerely, Martin J. Walsh, Mayor of Boston.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On the first late filed matter, Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on Healthy Women, Families, and Communities, Councillor Presley.
Pass this matter as these funds are urgently needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Presley. Councillor Presley moves for suspension and passage of the first late file. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the late filed matter has been passed. We have 10 late filed matters for the consent agenda, which will be added, absent objection. Hearing none, the matters are added, and Chair moves adoption of the consent agenda. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The consent agenda is adopted. On to the green sheets. Would anyone like to pull a docket from the green sheets? No takers. If so, finally, we'll pause for any statements or announcements to the group. Well, I'd like to jump in with a few. First, I want to make sure we heartily congratulate Councillor Campbell and her husband Matt on the birth of their son, Alexander. Just a few weeks ago, so we welcome another mama back to the City Council. And it's a day for celebrations. It is also Councillor LaMattina and his wife Lisa's 30th wedding anniversary today.
Thank you. Poor Lisa.
And then just a few comments on the renovation, the accessibility project. So the team that has been working on it has been amazing. If you all have peeked in, you can see that the floor has been lifted and all the kind of construction pieces are there. We've just been delayed a little because of some of the parts that have been ordered from day one haven't come in yet. So next week's meeting, Faneuil Hall is busy on Wednesday and on the Wednesday after that. So I'll be announcing at the end, but next week our official meeting will be on Tuesday, September 19th instead of Wednesday. That's when this space is available. That means that the filing deadline is also moved to Friday for, just so everyone knows, Friday at 10 a.m. instead of Monday for the 48-hour notice. Okay, then finally, I'd like to invite Councillor Presley up. We have a few special words before we close out the meeting.
Thank you, Madam President. I will make this very brief because I want this very special young woman to have the floor longer. But I wanted to invite up a member of our council family and a dedicated and valued member of the A-Team, Chelsea Cartwright, Emerson alum, Director of Constituent Services and Neighborhood Liaison in my office, and also a Houston native.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Madam President, my boss, Councilor Presley, and all members of the council for extending the invitation for me to say a few words today. In my 9 years as a transplant in the city of Boston, I've seen the city at its best through many troubling times. From surviving my first few snowstorms on the campus of Emerson College to the pain of Marathon Day in 2013, Boston has made an indelible mark on what it means to be resilient in challenging times. Houston will always be my home, and it holds a special place in my heart. I take great pride in being from the Bayou City, and Boston has a long history of helping other cities in the wake of catastrophe. But our city has made it clear that our support was unparalleled for Houston. 9 tractor trailers full of provisions, supplies, and the like destined for those that are in need of it most. Boston has inspired folks all over Houston to act on and bring out the best of showcasing the us in Houston. Last weekend, I attended the Belle Biv DeVoe Boston Unity for Houston concert on the Plaza, and our city once again showed up and showed out. There was a sea of people from all walks cheering on Roxbury's own BBD, and this is to me what Boston Strong exemplifies. Our city coming together in time of need to support others in time of sorrow. As my family continues to recover in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, each day I'm grateful for God's hedge of protection for keeping my family members, friends, and loved ones safe and free from danger. I'm gracious for God's comfort in the midst of the storm. Although those in Houston that I cherish most are safe, many of our other brothers and sisters in neighboring Port Arthur, Texas, Beaumont, Texas, coastal Southwest Louisiana, Puerto Rico, the Caribbean islands of Barbuda, St. Thomas, St. Martin, and much of the entirety of the Leeward Islands and coastal Haiti, plus the Southwest Florida Keys, weren't as fortunate. My prayer today is for strength for all families, seniors, and loved ones that have been affected by the start of an outrageous and implausible hurricane season. Although Hurricane Harvey and Irma have ravaged so many cities, small towns, villages, and communities in their wake, I trust in the magnitude of God to provide. No doubt, considerable fear and anxiety manifest in infected areas, but God grants unshakable peace to rid the storm victims of the spirit of fear. And please show us how to respond to the needs of those struggling with that frustration and fear. I pray for safety, healing, and peace of mind to those affected. Psalm 46 says, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and mountains quake with their surging, the Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. God is still in us, and he has not left us or forsaken us. Let our faith be raised to realize that wonderful reality. In the midst of this weather, calamity, and disaster, I trust that everything will work together for our good. In his own time and in his own way, all will come together. We will be better, we will be stronger. God will continually be with us to give us the glory and guide us through recovery efforts. I've been moved beyond belief by the spirit of generosity demonstrated in Houston during the week following the devastation of Harvey. Nothing has brought together my city like this moment. It's truly inspiring, and it makes me want to work harder than ever to bring the healing power of building community to those all over the Houston area and cities across our nation. May God continue to bless us and keep us. Thank you.
So let's all stay standing, and with those beautiful words, close out the meeting in memory of the following individuals. For Councilor Siomo, Paula Joyce Buckley, Bessie L. Renair, Anthony F. Rudy Villani. For Councilor Flaherty, Elias Abujadud. For Councilor LaMattina, Joseph Fior. For Councilor Linehan, Jack Coakley, Ida B. Graves. For Councilor McCarthy, Richard Matulis, Diane Nikas, David C. Spinney. And for all councilors, EMS Captain Robert Sarge Haley, and the victims of Hurricanes Harvey and Irma. A moment of silence, please. Oh, and apologies. Also, on behalf of the entire council, my deep apologies. On behalf of the entire council, Auditor Joe DiNucci. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Chair moves that when the council adjourns today, we do so in memory of the aforementioned individuals. We're scheduled to meet again Tuesday, September 19th at 12 noon at Faneuil Hall. All in favor of adjournment say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and council is adjourned.